Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution episode 880. I was doing the math this morning, and I think I talked yesterday, episode 1000. I think it's actually probably going to sneak into October because we're 120 episodes away from 1,000, 30 days on average in a month. That's 4 months. It's May 15th, June, July, August, September would be September 15th. However, there's going to be several days in the next 4 months where I will not be doing a hobby evolution. Figure 1 or 2 card shows a month. If I go out of town, the national is in that 4-month period. There may be a day or two when we move. So maybe October 1st. Buyer beware is the topic today, which I just kind of realized I had some thoughts about today's topic because I shared some of my neutral feedback I received over the weekend. I did get a follow-up, so that's part of it. And then part of it was something that I avoided altogether. Why? Buyer beware. So it's a local auction from near where I used to live in Illinois. Had a vintage sports card auction online. And a friend of mine who used to help at the auction house texted me and he's like, hey, there's an auction ending tonight. So I went to look. Awesome auction. A lot of good stuff that I wanted. But there's a but, and I'll share why there's a but. I feel a little better this morning. I'm still congested. I still have it, like just my face and head. I didn't do much. I skipped Mother's Day, mother-in-law dinner last night because I felt like shit. It got to be like 4:30, and I told my wife, I'm like, I don't want to go to dinner tonight. I'm sorry, but I feel like shit. So skipped dinner. Wife brought me home leftovers. What I had for dinner last night, I had cheese and crackers for dinner. I just didn't really I was hungry, but nothing sounded good. So I ate cheese and crackers for dinner and some carrots. I should probably eat more carrots. But I do feel a little better. I feel better now today. I feel much better this morning than what I did yesterday morning. And I think part of that was it's just this last week. Remember, I'm couch people. I'm not used to like being out and about and traveling a lot. And I did a ton of traveling last week. Dallas, Chicago, 2-day card show in Rockford, stayed out past my bedtime on Friday night. I think it just all cut. I think my allergies in combination with just being on the go constantly in the last 8 days took a toll. And here I am feeling like shit. So I feel less shitty this morning. I didn't leave the house, didn't do a damn thing. I shipped a lot in the morning. I ended up shipping about 100 packages out yesterday morning, but I still have well over 200 today because I took the rest of the day off. I watched a ton of TV yesterday. I was couch people multiplied. Unfortunately, I watched the Cubs game. That was brutal. 16-3 loss. I took a nap. Unfortunately, I took the nap between like 7-run innings. So that sucked. Watched the whole Cubs game, unfortunately. What did I watch? I watched some crap on Netflix. And you know what I did do? What I did watch and I enjoyed. And I think I'm going to watch more of it. I can't think. I'm going to have to Google it. But my wife always gives me crap about what I watch on TV because I have terrible taste in television and movies. Let's see. Found it. Okay. So I have terrible taste in television and movies. I love nostalgia. So I love watching 80s and 90s stuff. And most of it's crap, but I enjoy it. So some of the free apps, like if you have a smart TV and you go through and download these, you know, show apps, movie apps, whatever, they have a lot of like shitty stuff on there. But it's like not like when Netflix has shitty, I'm saying shitty a lot this morning. I apologize. It's Monday. When like Netflix and that, like, they're crappy, I'll say crappy. Their crappy films and TV shows are like British. I'm sorry. I am like 50% British on my ancestry stuff, but I just don't understand British humor or British drama, or really my wife loves British television and British film. I don't. So that's what, like, Netflix, it has all this, all that crap that I don't want to watch. What I want to watch is the crap from like the 80s. Like, whatever happened to like this series that was only on for one season? It sucked. That's why it only lasted one season, but I loved it. That's what I want to watch. And some of these crappy apps have a lot of crappy 80s TV and 90s TV. So, Tubi is one. Pluto is another. Pluto is kind of my like go-to. They have a great rock channel. So sometimes when I'm sorting, I'll just have like butt rock going. And remember, we talked about butt rock. Butt rock is like Creed, Stained, Nickelback. That's butt rock. Late 90s, early 2000s, butt rock. And I love it. So, but I've gone through, I know what they have. I know what those apps have for television and in movies. So it's like, there's got to be another crappy app out there that has like just random sitcoms that I either never watched or I don't remember watching. So I found one. I don't even remember the name of the app, but it's like, it's got TV shows and movies. I'm like, oh, I'm going to download this app. So I downloaded it. And I'm going through and it's got a lot of like fun stuff that it's like, oh, I remember that show. Yeah. It has a lot of that. And I'm going through and there's an 80s sitcom that pops up. I don't recall this. I don't recall it because I was 2 years old. I think it only aired for maybe 1-2 seasons. Had a good cast, a great lead. Who was the lead? Jason Bateman. Who doesn't like Jason Bateman? Jason Bateman's a freaking stud. Tom Hanks, Jason Bateman. Those two actors are like the greatest actors ever, because you don't hear a bad word said about either of those guys. Like, they're nice dudes. They put out good content. Even the shitty 80s sitcom, It's Your Move, was the sitcom. So I love Jason Bateman. I love Tom Hanks. Speaking of shitty 80s sitcoms, how about Bosom Buddies, Tom Hanks? So It's Your Move, 1984 sitcom. It only lasted one season, and I think it probably it ended in 85. So that's probably about the time when Bateman went on to star in Valerie, which was later named Hogan Family, which was one of my favorites as a kid. So it stars Jason Bateman, and he's this like and I only watched one, maybe 2 episodes, but he's just this slimy, like, teenage kid, like punk kid, just a shithead. Maybe that's why I liked it, because it reminded me of me as a shitty 14-year-old. So Jason Bateman, Trisha Cast, who I don't know, played Julie Burton. So Jason Bateman's mom dated a character called Norman Lamb, played by David Garrison. I remember him, and you may remember him as the first husband to Marcy on Married with Children. What was his name? Steve, I think. So he plays a character. Jason's mom is Karen Kay. She was a Fox back in the day. She's probably 80 now. But hey, back in 1984, she was a Fox. Ernie Sabella, who I remember him he played Lou Donatelli. I think he was the landlord. So wasn't that must have been a thing back in the 70s and 80s? Like, landlords, because you had Three's Company landlord. What other land? Maybe that's all I remember. But it's your move. It's on one of the shitty apps. I enjoyed it. I'll probably watch the rest of the shows that are on there. So let's get into the chat. We're going to talk about buyer beware this morning because I'm going to share my own experience and how I avoided being disappointed because I abstained from bidding. Sometimes it's really easy to avoid problems. Buyer beware. I'll give you an update on a buyer who didn't avoid problems. Left me neutral feedback over the weekend. I'll share that update. Shane's in the house. He was the first one here. What's up, Shane? Terry, good morning. David in the house. Bean's Ball Card Blog. Ken is here. I think I will enjoy today's topic, he says. Victor, good morning. Steve Ains Comedy in the house. Dan is here, and he says, don't forget to hit that like button. Thank you, Dan. Brian, good morning. Sal Dougie's House of Cards in the house. Good morning, all. Getting ready to head to St. Louis for my birthday to see a couple Brewers cards games. Happy birthday. And in the rare instance, go Brewers. I don't say that often. I say it when they play the Cardinals. That's about the only time. Have fun. Happy birthday. And go Brewers. Beat the Dirty Birds. Although sometimes I have to, it depends. If it were like September and like the Cubs needed the Brewers to lose, then I'd be like, go Cardinals. But it's May, so go Brewers. Chris Goodell, good morning. He made a live show. What's happening? Randy, good morning. He's in Texas. Alex, what's up? Good morning. The Cup of Joe, good coffee. I love my new coffee maker. I think I am going to spring for a Keurig at the new house so I can have a Keurig in my office. That's the plan. Andy Mack, good morning. 2 weeks of work left, a middle school teacher. That's got to be fun. So I got to ask, Andy, is the feeling as a teacher for summer vacation, is it the same as being a kid and getting excited for summer break? I would imagine it has to be, especially the older you, maybe in your 20s, because there's like this direct separation of childhood and adulthood when you're in your 20s. Like, it's almost like you want to be as far removed as possible from your childhood because you're cool. You're in your 20s. You think you're cool. You're not. If you're in your 20s right now and you think you're cool, you're not. Because by the time you hit 40, you're going to look back, man, I was a dumbass. But then once you hit your 30s, then nostalgia kicks in. And by the time you're 40, you're watching 1984 sitcoms and thinking back fondly of your childhood. That's what happens. That's life. Harlan in the house. Angel Baby Cards is here. He's up early this morning. It's 5:15 in the a.m. where Angel Baby Cards is at in the Chavez Ravines hindquarters, a.k.a. Central California. Dan, good morning. He's got to get some coffee. Bolted on my Fujitsu 7160 scanner. Love it. I talked to a few people over the weekend at the Midwest premiere asking about some Fujitsu scanners. Gave my thoughts on that. Love them. Red Light 34 has a half off sale till Wednesday. Very nice. Let's see. Out of the box an hour ago. Excellent on that Fujitsu. Let's see. He's got to get his Topps baseball cap on. Love it. Tell your wife to watch Endeavor. What's Endeavor? She might already have watched it. My wife is starting to come around to being a couch person. She's 2012. Maybe she hasn't watched it. I'll have to ask her about that. She can binge. She's a professional binge watcher. She can binge watch, but she works like crazy. She works around the clock, but yet she's great at well, no, she's not great at multitasking. I shouldn't say that. But she can binge watch with the best of them. Harlan says, first round games of the NCAA lacrosse tournament were this past weekend. Watched that all weekend. David Mercer, what's up? Go Rays, he says. JW in the house. Always awesome to find someone that have the same bad taste in things that I do. Keep rocking on. Love it. Yes, I love crappy 80s and 90s television in movies. Even the ones I never like, some of it's nostalgia for me. Like, have you ever seen the show Whoops? It was on Fox, like 6 episodes in like 1992. And I loved that show as a 10-year-old. I've watched it. I think you could find episodes on YouTube. So that for me is nostalgia, but It's Your Move is just maybe, generally speaking, the 1980s was nostalgia. Zach and Porter in the house. What's happening? Donald Davis, good morning. Scott is here. Chris says, only took working a double and buying Mariners from you. Love it. Love it. By the way, yes, Chris bought some Mariners from me. I added some more. I think I did add some Bowman last night in my eBay store. I also added some more of the autographs that I picked up at the Collecticon last weekend. I still have a ton of those still to list. So I'll be listing those throughout the next couple weeks. Flawed Thinker, good morning. Cooter in the house. Andy Mack says summer is slightly less magical now than when I was a kid. I've got too many responsibilities now to completely slack off. I get it. Yeah, with adulthood comes responsibility. That sucks. Let's see. Angel Baby's got to wait for his coffee. Let's see. Yeah, I forgot. I got to start. I've got to get in the habit of calling Fujitsu Ricoh now. They're no longer Fujitsu. It's Ricoh scanners, and I think they're actually branded Ricoh now. Ricoh. Let's see. Dan says, please go back up and read my last message. It was for you. Was it about Endeavor? That's the only one I saw. That was your last message. You said, hey, tell your wife to watch Endeavor. And please go back up and read my last message. So I didn't see any other messages. Uncle Rich, good morning to you. If you like this every day, hit that like button, which commences with S. Love it. Thank you, Uncle Rich. Any problems, they just swap you out. You're back online in record time. Love it. Yeah, Fujitsu, now Ricoh. They are awesome. Good morning, Michael Renicky in the house. Dave says, very few good sitcoms today. My favorite, Everybody Loves Raymond. I never really got into Everybody Loves Raymond. Sitcoms, I will agree, though. Sitcoms today suck. There was a sitcom. Oh, and I've talked about this before. The new Night Court. I love it. It's very reminiscent of an 80s sitcom, or like the original Night Court. And here's why. Here's why I think Night Court, the remake. Normally, I get annoyed by remakes because trying to find my words here. They try to play off that nostalgia, which I get. Why are people watching it? Because we miss it. And that 90s show sucked. Because they were trying too hard to play off the nostalgia and drop these little, not even Easter eggs, but just dropping all these tidbits. You know, Kelso comes back and Fez comes back and all these. And it's just like, they're trying too hard. And it just, I don't know. It just didn't have an identity. Night Court doesn't do that. They're not, it's Night Court. But they don't have to play off all this nostalgia. Like, hey, remember, blah, blah, blah. They don't have to do all that. Like, just drop it in subtly. And I think Murphy Brown, like same with Murphy Brown, Roseanne, and all of these, like, let's remake. I mean, what's next? I saw somebody say love Last Man Standing. What's next? Home Improvement? Are we going to have a Home Improvement remake where we're going to drop all these nostalgia bombs on you? So that's my like annoyance with remakes. They try too hard to play off the nostalgia. Just make it your own. Follow the Night Court footprint because they did it really well, at least in my opinion. We all have opinions. They're like assholes, right? So I think these shows and not necessarily movies as much as TV shows, but all these like sitcoms. Shane says, speaking of 80s and 90s movies, watched Mighty Ducks not too long ago. Wow, is that movie terrible as an adult, yet I still love it. Yeah, it's funny. There's some nostalgic TV shows and movies that I absolutely loved as a kid that now as an adult, it's like, oh, this is dumb. Although, on the flip side, I was in nostalgia overload yesterday. When I went upstairs, I'm like, I'm just going to go find a movie. And guess what movie I watched? And when I say I'm going to go find a movie, I went to an app on my TV and clicked. I didn't go search the VHS library. Ooh, I'm going to pull this one out. Rookie of the Year. I haven't seen that in a long time. It was fun. Loved it as a kid. I wouldn't say I love it now as an adult, but it was still good. Let's see. But I'm trying to think of other shows that I just don't do it for me anymore. Beavis and Butthead. I freaking loved because Beavis and Butthead was popular like right at that age where farts and poop was super funny, like when I was in junior high. And poops and farts, while still funny as an adult, not quite as funny. Doesn't have the magic as it did when you were 12. Beavis and Butthead, it's still like, there's still some nostalgia there, but it's not quite as like, I mean, it was like the greatest show ever when I was 12. Now, not so much. And that's disappointing. That realization when you're like, oh, I loved this as a 12-year-old. And then you turn it on and you're like 5 minutes in and you're like, what? This is stupid. And then you come to the realization that you're just effing old. You're not 12 anymore. Life is more boring. Let's see. Raymond was one of the only good 90s and 2000s sitcoms. Loved Last Man Standing. Good Morning, Paul Heath. In a lot of the sitcoms, I was a sitcom kid. But I also grew up in like the sitcom. I think you would call the 80s and 90s the sitcom era, right? The 70s were sitcom. I mean, yes, I know there were plenty of great sitcoms in the 70s, but I feel like the 70s were more of like the dramas and like those. I don't feel like the 80s and 90s, I think, capitalized on sitcoms more so than the 70s. Where are my 70s TV watchers at? I wasn't born yet, so I can't speak to the 70s, but just I guess the 60s, there was a lot of sitcoms in the 60s. Excuse me. Let's see. Home Improvement, great show. Yes, Home Improvement was great. That's another one I haven't watched much lately. And you don't see it like, it's not like on TV. I don't even know where it's streaming. Probably Disney. I don't know. Ken says, you're spot on. The new Night Court does a great job of being its own while still referencing the original. Yes, completely agree. Shane says, everybody loves Raymond is awesome. Does anyone remember Becker? That was a gem. I did not like Becker. Becker was the Ted Danson sitcom. I was not into Becker. Where are we at? Dan says, not sure you're seeing that specific comment for some reason because you passed it up again. Dan, it's not there. It's not on my screen. So just type it again. Let's see. Chris says, I thought we get free popcorn at the live show. Does anyone else see my comment about 80s life? I do not see Dan's comment about 80s life. Johnny Boy Cards in the house. Angel Baby is back. Kyle, good morning. Garrett, what's happening? Seinfeld and King of Queens were the best. See, King of Queens, another one I didn't really get into. Seinfeld, though, the GOAT. Love Seinfeld. Not so much King of Queens. MASH was always in our house through the 90s. My dad living with his nostalgia. Yes, MASH reruns always came on. I think MASH reruns where I grew up came on twice a day, like 6:30 right after the news or maybe right after Wheel of Fortune. I can't remember. And then right after the news at 10. Maybe it came on after the news after 6 and 10, which is, if you think about it, that's great programming from a network standpoint, or, whoever's running syndication. Because who's watching the news? Old people. And who wants to watch their nostalgia? Old people. So old people are watching the news, and now you hit them with some nostalgia, reminding them they're old, or taking them back to a day when they were not old, watching MASH. JG says Becker sucked. I don't think it sucked. I just wasn't a fan. Maybe it did suck, and I'm just misremembering. I don't know. Chris says best show, Sid and Morty. I've never seen that one. Let's see. Rich says if my good hobby friend Mark Marinello is here, he'll bring up The Honeymooners and The Odd Couple. I remember watching The Honeymooners like on Nick at Night back in the day. Let's see. Steve says All in the Family, Good Times, and Sanford and Son rocked the 70s. There were great sitcoms in the 70s, but were there as many sitcoms in the 70s as there were in the 80s and 90s? I think peak sitcom was early 90s. Maybe 80s. I don't know. 80s, yeah, there were great sitcoms. Let's Google. I should have like Chat GPT up. What was the best decade? What was the best decade for sitcoms? We're going to Google that and see what Google says. Quora.com is the first. Of course, this is all going to be opinion related too. Doug Manning says 70s, but I bet Doug Manning grew up in the 70s. You know what? I bet it just depends on when you grew up. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. I think the 80s and 90s were the best decade for sitcoms. I bet this guy, what was his name again? Doug, probably grew up in the 70s. I don't like how Quora, I don't like that website. What was the golden era of sitcoms? So watchmojo.com says the most iconic and influential sitcoms happen to be from the 1950s and 1960s. Is that just because they were iconic and influential because it was the start of television? I don't know. SWNS Digital says Americans have crowned the 80s and the 90s as the best decades for television. So I think it's kind of like, I think debating, it's like debating which was the best decade for Topps baseball sets. Because guess what? Most people would say whatever they grew up in. John Keating is going to say the 70s. I'm going to say the 80s. Somebody who grew up in the 50s is going to say that decade. I think it's just all nostalgia driven. Same with sitcoms. Depending on when you grew up is when you say, oh, these were the best sitcoms. Let's see. Rich says both of which were staples for years on WPIX 11 in New York. Angel Baby says we're all about the burp and slurp, Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. Shane says, I think I'm the only one that likes Becker. Appears to be. Where are we at? Max says Friends and Seinfeld, both absolutely awful. This might be the worst take I've ever heard. No storylines or any effort. Friends has a lot of storylines. Seinfeld, that's what makes Seinfeld great. It's episodic television. Seinfeld was absolutely genius in the fact it didn't need storylines. Let's see. JW says it seemed like a lot of sitcoms I watched growing up always had good morals to go by or was teaching the next generation about them the right thing to do. Wings was great in the 90s. I never liked Wings either. My wife loves Wings. I was not a Wings fan, but I think that's nostalgia. I think she grew up watching Wings. Here's why. Her dad was a pilot, and I think her dad watched Wings, and I didn't watch Wings, so it's not nostalgic for me. So I think that's probably, again, nostalgia driven. Sal Dougie, I was so bummed when I saw Rookie of the Year as a kid. I wanted Henry Rowan Gardner to shred MLB hitters forever. I know, man. That movie was so iconic as a Cubs fan. Like at that point, like I was Henry Rowan Gardner's age or thereabouts. Max does not see Dan's comment either. Let's see. Chris says best sci-fi in the 70s creature feature. I tried watching. I was like searching for something to watch. I had ADD of television watching yesterday. I could not focus on anything. I tried to watch Mystery Science Theater. I just can't. There was a point in time where I loved it. I just can't get into it. I don't know why. Just can't get into it. Ken says a comedy I love that I never hear anyone mention is Cougar Town. You know, I don't remember. I remember when it came out, and I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a good show. But I don't recall. But I think this came out, yes. So this came out in a time when I was really not watching any television. So it was on from 2009 to 2015. That was like the busiest time of my life when I watched zero television. I was traveling, 2009 through 2014, I was always traveling. If I was watching TV, it was a game. So that's probably why I didn't watch Cougar Town or any other shows that aired in that time period. Let's see. It appears that my stuff that I have going on, it allows me to talk for 30 minutes before I like get that scratch in my throat. My coffee is cooling off, so it's not helping anymore. It's probably not helping anyway. I should be drinking tea. I don't like tea. The Brits hate me. I don't like tea, and I don't like their television. Best side. Oh, we talked about that. Rich says, yes, the 70s had tons of sitcoms. Had to do with the family hours created circa 1972. Married with Children. Loved Married with Children. Let's see. Where are we at? Let's see. There were many sitcoms back in the 70s. Thing is, only the popular ones actually are remembered. And that's the thing. Because when I think of 70s TV, I don't think of here's what we're going to do. Let's go back to 1975. We're just going to split the decade in the middle. And we're going to go to newspapers.com. We're going to go TV Guide 1975. We're just going to pick a random TV guide. Let's try to find a TV guide. So I typed in television. Maybe since TV Guide was actually a publication, let's type in television guide. See, my buddy Scott collects TV guides. I should see if I could just say, hey Scott, look at TV Guide 1975. Is this a television guide? Complete television guide. This is taking longer than I expected. Oh, so here we go. So TV Guide, Monday evening TV at a glance. A whole 5 channels. Of course, 1975 was probably pre-cable. Monday, April 21st, 1975. And let's see. So we've got, let's go to prime time. And it's like I've never read a TV guide before. I don't know if this is, I don't know. This is from Hawaii, so I don't know what time this translates. So we've got, the news is on at 6. Okay, so here we go. That's My Mama. I don't remember that. Bewitched, of course, I remember that. Tony, Orlando, and Dawn. Don't remember that. Hawaii Now. Of course, that's probably local syndicated stuff. Partridge Family. I'm aware of Partridge Family. Looks like that was a movie or something. The Spy Who Came in from the Cold. This Vanishing Land. I've never heard of that either. Rockford Files. I've heard of the Rockford Files. All in the Family and the Jeffersons. So whatever channel that was, because that channel had All in the Family, Jefferson, Partridge Family, Bewitched, Rhoda. I remember Rhoda. That was KGMB. They also had this must have been it was before the news, so I'm guessing before the news came the syndication. Gilligan's Island, Gomer Pyle, Dick Van Dyke, Hogan's Heroes. Let's go back to let's go to 1978. Little later in the decade. 1978 television guide. Let's see. Hopefully I can find it faster than that. Oh, here we go. Del Rio, Texas. October 1978. Oh, and this actually, so this is a better TV guide because this shows what networks they are. So it's 6 o'clock on a Friday night on NBC. You could watch The Big News, followed by The Gong Show, followed by Waverly Wonders and Who's Watching the Kids. Rockford Files came on at 8. Eddie Capra Mysteries were on at 9. Over on CBS at 6 o'clock, you could watch Eyewitness News, followed by Family Feud. This is 1978. Wonder Woman came on at 7, followed by The Incredible Hulk. So now we've got the superhero shows were popular at this time. Flying High came on at 9. Don't know what that is. We're going to skip over PBS and go to ABC. Newswatch at 6, followed by The Muppets. This is October. So on ABC, you had the National League Championship Series come on at 7 o'clock. Who was that in 1978? Then we go to, that was it. CBS, NBC, and ABC. So there you go. Okay. Well, but we have Saturday. What was on Saturday? Probably not. Nothing worth mentioning. Oh, Fat Albert and the Kids came on. Okay. Anyway, enough 1970s TV guide. Let's see. The Golden Girls. Yes, I fall asleep to Friends, and then usually my wife changes the channel when I fall asleep, and she watches The Golden Girls. Chris says best cartoons, G.I. Joe and Transformers until Superstation put the Braves on instead. Those were my two, my big three in the 80s, G.I. Joe, Transformers, and He-Man. Those were my biggies as a kid in the 80s. Did you ever see the early 80s sitcom Sledgehammer? Yes, I did. Minneapolis Kid, gold star for the day for bringing up Sledgehammer, because that is on whatever It's Your Move, whatever app that was on. Sledgehammer is also on that app. My dad loved Sledgehammer. I don't even remember Sledgehammer, but I remember the song. Who sang the song? Sledgehammer, bum, bum. But yes, I do remember the 80s sitcom. I don't remember what it was about, but I just remember my dad loving Sledgehammer. Cooter says they couldn't make many of the 70s sitcoms today as they would be viewed as insensitive, even though in many cases they were using sarcasm to call attention to intolerance. Yes, totally. I remember my parents watching MASH and WKRP a lot growing up, followed by Roseanne. Absolutely. Let's see. Rich says, I did not grow up in the 50s, but overall that was a mucho better decade for baseball cards than Topps in the 90s. But there was a lot of really cool card sets in the 90s, more brands. 50s are the best for Topps design-wise, and I was born 8 days short of 90. Let's see. Angel Baby Card says, you need to recognize the context of the comment. There have been many decades of sitcoms. Some of what I see today kind of are just plain and ordinary. Good comedy is where you find it. Rich thought Wings was hilarious. Ken, also a Wings fan, making some for the Stars game tonight. I see what you did there. Where are we at? Let's see. Max says they're both trash. I've tried multiple times. Never laughed or found either appealing. Never thought Seinfeld was actually funny himself. I love Seinfeld. I think it's great. But everybody has, not everybody likes the same thing. That's okay. Let's see. Shane says, I typed a comment earlier and it didn't pop up, so it may have done the same thing to you. I wonder why. Oh, I think I know why. So my chat on my end says top chat. Let me go to some messages, such as potential spam, may not be visible, whereas live chat, all messages are visible. I've had top chat on. So some of your chats may not be coming on. So I'm going to go all the way to the top. Okay. Let's see. I'm just going to scroll through. I don't think it went all the way to the top, though. Flawed thinker. MASH was always in our house through the 90s. My dad living with his. Oh, I saw that one. I don't know why that would have thought it was spam or whatever. Saw that one. Cougar Town. 70 sitcoms. The Golden Girls. G.I. Joe. I don't think it let me go all the way to the top, but I have live chat on now instead of top chat. So we'll see. Hopefully all of your chats pop up now for me. Let's see. You do need to pick up one of those Navage. Oh, Novage. I bought one just last week, using it this week for my snoot. I've been using nose spray and it doesn't work. And my wife's like, why doesn't it work? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know, Margot. It's like, I don't understand why it does. I'm like, I don't know. My body's different, I guess. No. Allergy medication does not work for me. I've taken everything and nothing works. Nothing. And it pisses me off because I have to deal with this bullshit. Steve says best sitcom in the 90s was WCW Monday Nitro. See, I was a WWF guy. T is garbage water, Ted Lasso. See, this is a hot take. I don't like Ted Lasso. My wife loves Ted Lasso. I don't get it. I don't like Ted Lasso. It's not that I don't like it. No, I don't like it. It is simple as that. I just don't like it. Let's see. Dan said, I saw the comment in chat, but no one else did. JW says, maybe all the sitcoms I grew up watching made me the smartass I am today. TD Sports Cards, good morning. Steve says, so what should buyers beware? What decade had the best sitcom? Yes. We're going to get to the topic. Greatest American Hero. Del Rio, Texas, home of Radney Foster. I have no idea who that is. WKRP in Cincinnati. Ah, yes. That was a great sitcom. But I also have I was in radio, and I can totally relate to WKRP. Phil's Dodgers was the NLCS in 1978. Chris always knew when Wonder Woman was on. I fall asleep to Forensic Files. It's like bedtime stories for adults. Tiger727, Radney Foster. There's a name I have not heard in a while. Peter Gabriel, thank you. Dan. Sledgehammer episodes are on YouTube. They're also on, I don't even know what app it is, but it's an app you can download. Let's see. I wonder if I can. It's Your Move streaming. Where to watch? Plex? Maybe it's Plex. Plex, yes. So the app Plex has episodes of Sledgehammer, so you don't have to deal with YouTube. As you're watching YouTube right now. Let's see. Space 1999, Buck Rogers in the 25th Century. A-Team. Oh, yes, good stuff. Dan had top chat as well. Sal Dougie liked Becker. Friends, on the other hand, I love Friends. Navage is a lifesaver, says Andy Mack. Shane says, oh, great, now I'm spam. Buy a Navage and you won't be disappointed. Austin's in the house. What's up? Cyclops is here. Austin, what's going on? Great seeing you. Thanks for the Cubs. Austin brought me some Cubs cards, by the way. Thank you, Austin. File wrestling in the same place as Friends and Seinfeld. Max has the hot takes of the day. Rich says, next Bo will tell us I don't like Mondays. I actually do like Mondays. I don't like Tuesdays. Tuesdays are the new Monday. If you've never been to this show before, it takes an hour on most days to get to the topic. Absolutely. 80s Life on YouTube makes great filing location videos, but he mentioned his favorite 80s show of Hardball, Brothers, and Valerie, the Hogan Family. Awesome. Looney Tunes are still the best. Let's get to the topic. Buyer beware. We had a great sitcom discussion, 45 minutes. Buyer beware. So I mentioned yesterday I received a whole bunch of neutral feedbacks, but only from two buyers. Saturday was a terrible sales day. Sunday was great. Okay. I'm on eBay for the first time today. Okay. Feedback. All of a sudden I see in my last 30 days, I have 11 neutrals in the last 30 days. Well, 3 of them were from one buyer and 8 were from another buyer. So 11 neutrals from 2 different buyers. So this guy says, if you want to send out cards, not only put in sleeves, but either top load or card saver, because during mailing, the cards get dinged on the corners and devalues the card. Like, what? So I messaged the guy. I'm like, hey, I saw your feedback. All of your cards were in penny sleeves and card savers. And so his response, and oh shit, I don't have my phone on me. His response was something to the effect of, maybe I said that by mistake, but there were dings on the cards. Like, okay, so let me see. I know they weren't damaged in shipping. Well, I guess I don't know that, but I can pretty much say educated guess it wasn't. So I looked at the photos and there's dings in the photos. Now, maybe that's on me. I'll take some responsibility. Maybe I shouldn't list dinged cards. And you may be saying, well, if there's a ding on the card, make sure to list it. I don't have time when you have 40,000 listings, but I will say what I need to do better at is, okay, if there's a ding, just don't list it. Put it in a quarter box. These were like Batman cards. So I will take responsibility that I should be more careful what I list, because people aren't going to follow buyer beware. Look at the damn photos. Now, Bowman Chrome, some photos can't, let's take this Jefferson Rojas. Now you take a photo of this and again, if I'm listing a $100 card or a $500 card that's a Bowman Chrome, I'm going to take my time and look for every little flaw. If I'm listing a card for $1.50 or $2, I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to look at this Jefferson Rojas. You can take a photo. It's like, oh, looks clean, but there's probably got to be something. I'm sure there's a flaw. Oh, no, that's just, oh, I'm sure there's a scratch. There's somebody will find a scratch. They'll get out their loop. So sometimes you can't always look at the picture, but if it's not a Chrome card, if it's a Batman card from 1995, I think that's what it was. Yeah, 1995 Fleer Metal. So I go and I look and I'm like, well, shit, it's like, you can clearly see it. Like there's a ding, but I don't sell near mint cards. I don't know. So I'll take some responsibility on that. What was the other neutral? The guy that left 8 feedbacks. Oh, this might even be worse. This neutral feedback. Card arrived in great condition, but shipping took longer than normal. It was not the fault of the seller. And he left me 8 neutral feedbacks, but it wasn't my fault. Like, just don't leave any feedback if that's the case. Or take that negativity over to the USPS. And Steve nailed it. You're not going to please everyone. No, I'm not. So I wasn't even going to bring that up, but I wanted to because I was trying to think of a topic this morning. And I'm like, what did I do? And all I did was ship yesterday. And that's about it. But I forgot about the auction. So buyer beware. So buyer beware. Buddy of mine who used to help with this auction house, it's in a small town in Illinois, said, hey, there's an auction ending at 6 tonight. I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm going to go look. And I'm like, oh, wow, there's some cool stuff. So like page 1, 1987 Topps wax boxes, 87 Fleer wax boxes, a Cello rack pack box. So a lot of like 80s, you might think, well, that's junk. No, some of these like 85, a lot of 1985 Topps baseball wax boxes. Those probably sell, I don't have my phone on me. Probably $100. What's a 1985 Topps wax box go for? I guess I can search in here. 1985 Topps wax box. Somebody, I saw a comment on YouTube. I called something a hobby box, and they said it's so cringe. It's so cringe hearing somebody call the 80s and 90s a hobby box. Well, here's a 1985 Topps hobby box. Holy shit. $500 for BBC authenticated. Damn. I'm like, oh, what are they? $100? No, they're like $400. Jesus. I wonder what those sold for. There were a few cards in the auction. There was a lot of Rodeo Meats cards from 1955. 4 of them. Commons, and they were beaters. Bobby Shantz, not really a common. Bobby Shantz, John Dixon, Art Ditmar, and Jim Finnegan, and those sell for about $50 a pop. I think when I looked back later in the day, the bidding had already gone up over 100, I believe. So it was getting to that point where it's like, but I'm going to find specifically because I had messaged my friend and I said, yeah, I'm just going to steer clear. I mean, there's some great lots. 1953 Topps cards, 1954 Topps, lots. And then there were partial sets as well, going back to the 50s. A lot of autographed baseballs, and I don't even know these if they were authenticated or not. Doesn't even say like here it is, buyer beware. There's nothing in the description. Oh wait, let me click on lot details just to make sure. No, there's no description. There's no certificate of authenticity. It just says Billy Williams autographed baseball, Willie McCovey autographed baseball. Stan Musial autographed baseball, that's probably legit. He signed everything. But that's buyer beware. Now, don't overpay for something like this and send it in for authentication. And when it comes back fake, don't bitch about it. Buyer beware. Where else? So there was, here it is. So at this point, like some of the wax boxes were like already, there was a lot of like Ken Griffey Jr. cards that was like, I mean, we're talking like 90 Topps, 91 upper deck, no rookies. And the bidding was at like $15 or $16. And I'm like, what? For like 7 Ken Griffey Jr. commons. But yet the 1981-82 Topps traded baseball sets, allegedly, the bidding was at like $12. So it's 1981 Topps traded, 1982 Topps traded. I'm like, oh, here's what turned me off. The description, there's one picture, and it's a picture of the boxes. And it says, description, boxes are full. That's it. Boxes are full of what? Shit? Rocks? 1990 Topps baseball cards? Or are they actually filled with the 81-82 Topps baseball cards? Is it complete? Is the Cal Ripken Jr. card in that 82 Topps set? So that turned me off. Like, So there was also 84-85 Topps baseball traded sets. Now, when I was texting back and forth with my friend, he did say he looked through the 84 and the I think the Doc Gooden was in there because Strawberry's 83. So he did say the 84 did have the Dwight Gooden. I'm like, I'm still not going to take the chance. If I say I spend whatever amount, $40, $50, and there's no Cal Rip, I spent $50 on a bunch of commons. I'm not going to take that risk. Buyer beware. So that was one. That was kind of the main thing. Starting to get that scratchy throat. But there were a lot of like binders of 50s and 60s partial sets. Damn it, where I might have skipped. Well, Bo, you should have been more prepared this morning. I mean, there was a lot. I wish this was like I wish I was there and there was a live auction. So, okay, here it is. 1957 Topps baseball card set in a binder. And you go through and it's like, oh, there's Yogi Berra. So it shows like, and the pictures are not very good. Frank Robinson, they're like taken from a distance. So I see there's some stars in here. but are the big cards that you want in this set. There's only 7 photos. They took a picture of the binder. Like, I don't give a shit what the cover of the binder looks like. Show me the cards. So I think they did go back and edit it later because it does say 1957 Topps baseball card set incomplete. Set put together by hand will be sold in binder as shown. Missing cards listed. And it was only missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It was only missing 11 cards. I don't know which numbers. Card number 1, 39, 58, 79, 287. Rich, who are those cards? Note number 95 card, Mantle, has light crease. Now, my friend said some of these cards, he didn't say specifically which, was it 57 or was it the others, but said they were kind of rough. So that's the thing. With the photos seen, I'm not going to stick my neck out. I think that's a common misconception. People think 50s cards are like $100 a piece. And that's just not the case. If it's a common from 1957 and it's beat up, it's a $1.50 card. Or it's going in the quarter box. So, I'm not paying several $100s for a bunch of quarter cards. So buyer beware. And so I didn't bid on a single item just because the photos either weren't good enough. Either the photos were not good enough or the details were not there. The descriptions were lacking. Sometimes you just have to, I'd rather miss out on a deal for being smart than taking a chance and swinging and missing. Buyer beware. Let's go into the chat. We've got a lot of chats to catch up on. Let's see. Flawed Thinker said it right there. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Angel Baby Card says, yes, this is a good subject to talk about. The hobby needs to conform the profit yield spread for items sold to profit after shipment costs. eBay is increasing costs, which is affecting hobby seller. Looks like I'll be adding a couple guys to my blocked buyer list. Cooter says, if it's a high-resolution photo, you can typically see more via the zoom than you can with the naked eye. That's a really good point, too. Steve says, you're not going to please everyone. Absolutely. And that's the thing. Like, I don't typically get upset with feedback. When I get 11 neutrals from 2 different buyers, that kind of pisses me off. If it's just like a neutral feedback, like it took too long, I don't care. But when there's 8 of them, that pisses me off. If somebody leaves me a negative, like, oh, the card for whatever reason, I don't like, usually it's like, yeah, okay, you've got a legit beef. I don't care. Let's see. Really sorry, but I have no intention of selling our cards to make just $1. That's a bit crazy. No details on $2 cards. I also sell CDs, vinyl, and cassettes. Some sellers won't sell media until they listen to the whole album. They're freaking crazy, impossible to do. Anybody notice when you buy on eBay as a West Coast seller, you always somehow manage to end up buying from East Coast sellers? I don't know. It seems like when all of my bubble mailer shipments always go to the West Coast. Where's the most expensive postage now that we have zone shipping? The West Coast. It's like, oh, I mean, it's like $1 more than if I sold it to someone in Wisconsin or Illinois, if it goes to California or Washington. Bruce says, have you tried flushing your sinuses with a saltwater solution yourself? Maybe do it on a hobby evolution episode. Ooh, I don't know if we want to do that. I don't know if I've ever done a saline rinse. Scares me. Is eBay encouraging long distance sales in order to increase shipment costs? I don't know. That's a good thought. I don't know. I never, ever, ever seem to end up with a single sale from my own hometown. I actually, and now that I say that, I mean, all of my thoughts on this are anecdotal. Like, I don't have a spreadsheet of where my stuff is going. You probably can. I bet you can download that information somewhere. So it's totally anecdotal, but I do sell a lot within Wisconsin. And I also like, and here's what I like to do. I like listing Packers and Brewers cards. Why? Because typically the buyers of Packers and Brewers cards, where are they located? Here in Wisconsin. What can I do for added value as a seller? I can send my Madison Card Show business card, and it's good promotion. Oh, this is going to Kaukauna. Hey, you're only an hour away or an hour and a half away. Come out to the Madison Card Show on May 27th. So that's why I like listing Packers and Brewers cards because many of the buyers are local, and I can promote my Madison Card Show. Let's see. There's something else. Where did all these Tiffany cards coming from? 80% of Americans live in the eastern half of the country. That's a good point. There's a lot of people on the East Coast. Buyer beware is not related to Cocoa beware. There's 14 years collecting, never see them in the wild. That's true. You don't see Tiffany that often in the wild. Ken says, maybe I never get the big score because I'm cautious, but I've been buying, selling trading cards online since 1997 and have never been scammed. It's pretty easy not to get scammed. It's really easy. The last issue, and I wasn't scammed because I took the proper precautions to avoid getting scammed, was on the blowout forums. And I haven't bought much. I used to buy a lot of like medium flat rate boxes. It's a little harder to find flat rate boxes, but I was buying like a lot of Bowman flat rate boxes. And I had somebody I bought one or maybe several from, and it was a couple $100 transaction, I think. And I'm not like ship my item now. It's like, yeah, give it time. But I think like a week and a half, like 10 days had gone by. Like, I gave it a really long leash, and I still hadn't heard from him. And I'm like, hey man, just want to know if you're going to ship this soon. And like no response. And so then he finally like responded, and it just dragged out. And I'm like, okay. So I did guess what I paid with? PayPal goods and services. Pay with goods and services. Always. Please. Please. I filed a chargeback or whatever the hell you call it with goods and services. And then he got pissed off because he knew he was losing the money. I almost said the F word. Dumbass. And then so I put a negative on like the blowout buyers to be cautious of. And people start like, oh, this is the fourth time he's done this. And then he ended up getting banned from the blowout forums because he did this multiple times. Brian says, I sell a lot of cards within 50 miles of my house. Max says, I don't trust online auction sites. Most of the stuff is cherry picked by the auction house or shilled like crazy. And I'm always wary. Like why is a 1990 Fleer hobby box? I just want to say that to make some guy cringe. Why is a 1990 Fleer hobby box selling for $50? It just doesn't make sense. But then also another thing that, and I agree with Max on these points, cherry picking and shilled. But another thing, a lot of these auction houses don't have people that know anything about cards. So it's like, oh, here's a whole binder full of cards. It's the complete set where they don't check. And I think in this particular case, they had like an open house to like view the items in person. And some guys were like, hey, but this is not a complete set. It's missing this card and who knows what other cards. And so then they had to edit the titles. I have a family friend that's in the auction business. And I mentioned, I'm like, do you get cards? And so, and I understand where he's coming from when he said, yeah, cards. Oh, I try to stay away. Cards suck. Well, for him, I understand because they don't sell at local auctions. Why don't they sell? Well, usually because it's junk, and you can get like a whole trailer rack. What do you call that? Horse rack, horse rack, whatever the trailers. That's what they did down in Illinois. Horse trailers or whatever. Not horse trailer, the flatbed trailers, whatever they are. You can get a whole trailer for $1. And that's why he doesn't like them, because they don't sell. Why don't they sell? Because they're garbage cards. But there might be good stuff in there, but they don't want to take the time. He's like, yeah, we've tried everything. We tried sorting them in teams, but if it's junk, it's not going to sell. So just don't waste your time. Just put it on a trailer and sell it for $100. And if you get that, you might be lucky. Angel Baby Card says, where am I at? Oh, man. Woo. I'm going to have to wrap it up. I don't even know if I can get through the chat. Let's see. Now my eyes are going to water. Oh, listen to my voice. I think I should wrap it up. Let's see. Let me blow my nose. Maybe that'll help. Okay, eBay speaks Pacific. If you've ever set your store for time away, you'd know that. There's no conspiracy. I'll buy any 50s card you put into the quarter box. It's all about condition. Sold a $4.99 NASCAR card, deadbeat payer. Angel Baby says, tell you what I think I'm going to do. Use the Fuji to maintain profits. Let's see. Free shipping will get you more buyers from farther away. Do not rinse nose with tap water. See, that's why I'm leery of doing any nose rinses, because there's I've read the horror stories of doing a rinse with non-distilled water, and it's flesh-eating bacteria up your nose. There you go. Brain-eating amoeba. I'm sure that's very uncommon. I'm sure it's a 1 in a million, but you don't want to be that one. Hey, speaking of 1 in a million, now this isn't 1 in a million, but did I show these off yesterday? I might have opened the second blaster after my show yesterday, but I opened a second blaster and I pulled Drew Jones, numbered out of $3.99. This is about a $150 card out of a blaster. In the same blaster, I pulled this of 99 auto DePaula. This sells for around $400, maybe even close to $500. Yes, dollars. So not bad. $500 plus blaster box. That's half of what I paid for the case of 40 blaster boxes. Where we at? Ken says, I sell a lot to my own state. It's a big state. Let's see. I should buy up to the number of P&W. I send a lot of stuff to Utah, which is kind of random. Let's see. Where are we at? When I got my Hostess Ken Griffey Jr. card last month from Bo here in Central California, I knew something had to be going on. Flawed Thinker says, that's a great idea, throwing in the cards, promoting the card show. You're so smart. SMRT. Let's see. When I started selling 2020 Topps baseball last year, we ran into a bunch of squirrels that caused problem for our seller account. I hate that. Max says that's still getting scammed, though no. I don't know if you're speaking specifically to my blowout forums issue. I would not call that a scam. I mean, I would call that an attempted scam. It would be a scam if I was out money. What's a scam? What's the definition of scam? A dishonest scheme, a fraud. So technically, I guess by that definition, it was a dishonest scheme. However, the intended scammer failed at fulfilling the scam. So I don't know. I don't call those instances scams because it wasn't successful. I would call that because what was his intent? His intent was to potentially, maybe he's just a deadbeat seller that's slow at shipping and communicating. Or maybe he is a thief. But if you go in and try to rob a business, and I guess robbery, it probably has a different definition, but I would say, and you fail, to successfully rob somebody and then you're caught, it's attempted robbery. So I would call that, even though if it doesn't fit the definition, an attempted scam because he was not successful. Not only did he not get money, but he was caught. And so, but he was banned from the blowout forums because he was a scammer. So I guess, I don't know. But I sniffed it out, right? I don't know. It's an interesting thought. I think it's all, I think essentially it's just semantics. Let's see. I have one Tiffany card, 87 Ernie Riles. I did get some 88 Tops Tiffany sets in a bulk buy that I had. Before you know it, they want you to begin texting them outside of eBay. Yep, that's got scam written all over it, or attempted scam, however we're using the terms. I sorted through about 10 factory sets from my last pallet. About half were complete and half had some key cards missing. You never know. Interesting. Let's see. Very true. I made thousands over the years for that very reason. Typical question. How much do you want for that 1982 Topps traded baseball box? Answer, I'll take $5 sold. Where are we at? Another example. How much do you want for that 1988 Fleer Michael Jordan All-Star? I'll go 50 for both his regular and PSA 9 and All-Star. Sold. Nice blaster pulls. Yeah, I saw that Drew Jones and I'm like, oh, and then the auto, I'm like, oh, that's a banger. Cooter says northern states and Texas are great indoor hobby states. Need to have something to do when you're hiding inside from extreme temperatures. Max says attempted or completed, same difference, still a scam. Don't have to get screwed over in the end for it to be a scam, in my opinion. I would agree. I would agree with that. I think but I don't feel like were you scammed? Were you scammed? I don't feel like my definition, and again, I think this is semantics. My definition, I wasn't scammed because I was not out money. But the definition of scam is a dishonest scheme or a fraud. So I can see it both ways. DePaula is huge. Dude is big. What's 6'3", 185? I don't know if you meant big as in a big card or big as in physically. Yeah, if he fills out, he could be big. And he's only 18. Wait, what's the math on that? He's 17 right now. He's going to be 18 at the end of the month. So, yeah, that's a big card. I'm going to have to put I've got a Jackson Holiday auto. I've got the Jackson Holiday refractor. I've got some other autos that I pulled. I've got the Tom Brady rookie that I got out of the Goodwill pallet. So I'm going to have some good stuff coming to my eBay store here this week. So that's what I had for today. I'm glad I recovered and I can talk again. I need more coffee. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Hit my eBay store. All that good stuff. I'll be live every day this week. 7 a.m. Central, Monday through Friday. No plans for the weekend. My wife is going shopping in Chicago this weekend. So bacheloring it on Friday night. I will go to the new house today. Maybe take some video and some photos, do a quick update on some stuff. Cause things are happening. We got flooring in. I talked about that. Hopefully, paint. It's all painted. Flooring is in on the main level. Deck is being built. Deck and porch. So there's some stuff going on. So try to get a video update today or tomorrow. I'll take the video today. Maybe get it up tomorrow. Anyway, that's all. Have a great Monday. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you tomorrow.